3 poems about myself. First one's called The Flat. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The flat, as in your home. F-L-A-T, the flat. As in your home, where you live. Yeah? Okay. Or where I live. A friend came round to see me one evening and said he feared for my life. He said if I did not get out of the flat that I was living in, I could be headed for trouble and strife. He said he felt engulfed by what he felt was a bad vibe, but I was kind of thinking he had too many beers inside. He knew nothing about karma, but what he felt was not good. It took a couple of months for him to be fully understood. There's a message in these verses. I really hope they do get through. And if you realise what I'm saying, it could disturb the hell out of you. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. All was kind of quiet on the Eastern Front. All of a sudden things changed quickly. There was confusion all around. People knew certain things about the flat, but no one had made a sound. My thoughts were moving rapid, too fast to even jot down. The way my head was spinning felt as if I'd been twirling round and round. Now this is where it gets confusing, so please bear with me a while. When I'm telling you a story, I'm trying to do it in a certain style. I was in the middle of a breakdown, or was it a breakthrough? And let me explain some things that a mate should never do to you. The owner of the flat finally gave me a surprise. While I was on the psychiatrical, he looked into my eyes and told me he'd seen the devil in the flat with his very own eyes. He said he felt a strange feeling that surrounded him everywhere. But when I moved into his flat, he never told me to beware. Now what sort of shit is that? How can he not give me no warning? He saw Lucifer at night and wanted me to see him in the morning. I just couldn't take it in. I could not fully understand. Was this a coincidence or part of someone's plan? You may think I'm thinking deeply, but you really don't know shit. Because if these events happen to you, you probably end up having a fit. Would you really give a friend a flat that you knew was haunted? Just put with money in your pocket so that your rent could get sorted. Rent was put before my welfare. Now can somebody tell me, does that seem fair? There's more chapters to this verse, there's more chapters to the story, and one day we may converse. But I really don't want to send your sanity home for a nurse. Is that alright, yeah? Yeah. I'm going to give you two more. These for Harry. This is Harry's idea. These are Harry's idea. Alright. Weekends come and weekends go. Different kind of life to the one I used to know. Since all the madness, things have changed. I really don't know if they'll ever be the same. Used to be active, used to have fun, used to sit around and bun. I don't smoke no more because it intoxicates the brain. Something that could quite literally send me insane. Friends stick around, glad that they care. I don't know what I'd do if they were not there. On medication, 4 tablets a night. Put on so much weight to cause quite a fright. Deep in my thoughts I try to keep strong. Sometimes I wonder where it all went wrong. Was it a stress like the doctor said? Or was it a depressed state deep in my head? I guess some things you'll never know. It's just so funny how life can go. Prada, Stone Island, clothes I used to wear. While I was on benefit, they seemed pretty dear. Renegade, Eminem, sending me crazy. How did I become so bloody lazy? Is it the meds that's got me in this state? Or is it pure and simple that I put on this weight? People say, rock up, pull yourself together. Sometimes I feel as changeable as the weather. Going insane is a crazy thing. Hardly the problems it can bring. Thank God for family, thank God for friends. All the things that help you mend. Stopping your mind from a uric acid. Time on my hands to work out the end. Thank you. One more. Last one. Is there a mental state taking over that doesn't want to be controlled? Am I about to tell a story that already has been told? Psychotic images of a world that I know well. Is this a trip to heaven or another trip to hell? Is my mind at ease? Is it doing as I please? Or is this a quiet storm before I'm brought to my knees? Now please don't get too worried, don't call the doctors yet. But I try and control this episode before the madness sets. The world of psychosis is an unknown world to most. If you've been there and come back, you can become the perfect host. For a trip to another dimension, to a place where life is strange, where people who surround you try to convince you you're deranged, where thoughts are controlled by a nostrum and medication as powerful as class A. Your judgment is confused as your mind begins to sway. Your natural senses are increased to a level that's kind of hard to explain. Society has a word for it and called it insane.
I'm supposed to introduce me to doing the closing remarks.
Before you do that, let me just tell you something. Because I was listening to Arthur when he was talking about the role that black people played in both world wars, not the only one. But there was one thing that the British was very careful about, especially in the First World War, was that black people did not shoot white people. And that is why not many black people went to the forefront at the beginning of the First World War. They did not want black people to shoot white people.
Can I come in here? No, this thing, it is on punch, but it's hidden, right? During the World War, the Americans, they had this race business. 1943, when things really got hot, they said, well, we got to go on to make the black American troops with guns. Before that, there were only ambulance workers, docs, and many other jobs. Yeah. So things got hot in France, and they sent the black American and the white Americans. And the first day, the black Americans, instead of shooting the Germans, they turned around the guns and shoot the white Americans.
Oh.
But that happened for quite a few days, and they realized what was happening, and they arrested a lot of them and hung a few. But they didn't hang them there, they brought them back to England and hung them in Colchester. See? And it kept quiet all years. But when you look into it, it is there. That the black Americans turn around and shoot the white Americans when they remember what they undergo in racialism.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. I just want you to put your hands together once more for Roy here. Roy?
Thanks, Harry.
I presume that everyone have one of our programs. And at the bottom of the program it says, the committee welcome donations to continue the work of the foundation. And we do, because we have some aims. And one of the aims we have is to really start to connect young people with older people, because there's really a big disconnection at the moment. And we would like to have a project which can be young people led, and it could be around oral history interviewing, because we must preserve our past and we must preserve our present, because in a few years time, next 40 years, and you say there were people from the Caribbean living in England who said we're there, then we know then, because older people from Caribbean descent will be born here. So we must preserve that past. So what we are going to do, we are going to have a little, it's not a rap book, it's basically a book which has been donated to us by Hansen Press. Hansen Press, Ari Ali, sent his apologies. He would have loved to be here this evening, but what he has sent is some brochures of his books, his publications, and this is one of them. And he's given us a few books, and I would like to give away this book, but someone will have to answer a question, and I don't know what the question is, but then you can have it. But before that, everyone have a chance of winning this, so you have to donate something before you win it. Okay? I don't know how it's going to work, but you'll work it out. I just want to say, as far as closing remarks, we have parts of our exhibition. As you know, some of our members here, some of our visitors here, have seen our exhibition before. We heard the story about when Alan was speaking about, when Arthur was speaking about what happened in Haiti, where African people rebelled and basically defeated two major powers, where we defeated France and defeated England. And if at the back of the hall, you will see the story of sugar and who was the biggest employer of who bought the most slaves in the Caribbean was the British Army. And it highlights and shows you how the British Army done it by saying that was for unforeseen war circumstances. But they had thousands and thousands of slaves to fight the wars. And we also remembered at the beginning we remembered our fallen heroes. And the fallen heroes, we even have a George Cross, or Victor Cross, a George Cross, which was by a Grenadian young man a few years ago in Iraq. So we must not remember that, and that's why we are here too, because this is the season of remembrance, because last Sunday, remember, we all remembered our loss over in Trafalgar Square. And Seneca. I should know that. And then over on the left we have independence, and we can see all the countries in the British West Indies that when they became independent. And this year is 50 years for 2 countries in particular. The first is Guyana, which celebrated their independence this year. And the next is Barbados, and you know Barbados will be celebrating their independence at the 29th of this month. 30th. Thank you. Thank you, Barbadian days. And so what we have been done, we had a donation, someone donated something called fish cakes and sweetbread to give that Barbadian taste. And Tony Cheeseman here, he was a lover of sweetbread. And he also likes sauce, but we don't have any sauce. But we want to remember Barbados in, through having something, a local dish, and that's some sweetbread here. And that was donated by Lolita. And Lolita, we'd like to thank you ever so much for your Yes. So before I move on, I'll just have some announcements. Devin, would you like to make that announcement, please?
Thank you for allowing me a few moments. My name is Devin Thomas. I'm emigrated over here today from Brixton. I really need my passport. But I'm chair of a thing called the Black Heritage Group. I work alongside Black Arthur and Harry and many others, and I have to acknowledge Winston, who I've known for so long, I can't even remember when I met him first. But I was a young man coming up in the late 60s, early 70s, and he was one of our elders organising our communities, and became a youth officer when I was doing youth work. And he was one of the people who I used to look up to and take advice from when I was coming up in the community back in those days. Now, just one announcement I'd like to make. I don't know if you've heard this, but one of our members, do you heard of a man called Alex Wheatle? He's an author. Last week he won the Guardian Prize for Children's Writing. First time in 50 years a black person has won that award. Very prestigious writing award. I've known Alex since he was a young man. He actually had a very tragic childhood. He was in Shirley Oaks Children's Home. I don't know if you've heard it. It's featured last few days because it's one of the groups, the Survivors Association, are involved in this inquiry into child abuse. And they've just decided to withdraw from that. He was the secretary of the Survivors Association. He spent some time in Shirley Oaks. And that's because he had writing expertise. He's been writing biographies to over 600 people in the Survivors Association. This home was massive, and it was controlled by Lambeth Council. Large numbers of children of African and Caribbean heritage were in this home over 30, 40 years it was open, and suffered egregiously. And he helped those survivors to write their stories. I was at Lambeth Council full council meeting last summer. It was purely about the survivors. And they chose 15 of them to tell their stories. If you heard what happened to them, it would make it look as cold. And some people, even though you think of respect, look at them as but the reason why it's been covered up for the last 20, 30 years is because a lot of people listen. Alex has been writing since 81. Alex was involved in the 81 uprisings in got out some of his frustrations by fighting the police on the street, along with a lot of other young people who were being targeted and victimized by police. Right? They were trying to keep the next generation from rising up by policing the amount of existence. I was a youth worker in the area at the time. I became chairman of the Defense Committee in 91, elected by a big meeting that took place in Town Hall. And I met Alex then. He'd escaped being arrested by hiding in a rubbish bin on the council estate. And he wrote about his experience. That was the first book he wrote, across Brixton and Victoria. And he wrote consistently high quality, entertaining books that kept that memory of this is what happened to him in his generation. Now he's writing for children. He's done it so effectively that he can write for my family. So he's still achieving. I wrote him a congratulations, and he wrote back to me, and other members of our group, we're going to organize something so that our community recognizes him as well as institutions like the government. So he was a sister organization, so I wanted to make sure I came here this evening, and I wanted to share that information with you. Please come down to Brixton, because you know we've got our National Heritage Centre there now, the Black Cultural Archives. It took us 31 years, and the founder, when Garrison gave his life, he collapsed and died at the board meeting. So some people have sacrificed greatly to get us where we have. Respect to Harry and those who are trying to keep the flame alive over here. And let's pull together. We're in times of Trump and times of Brexit. I don't know if you understand what that means. I don't know if you remember the 80s when Mrs. Thatcher was here and Mr. Reagan was in America. Similar kinds of situations are going to come around. We have to find each other, find our collective selves, and find our organized selves. The luxuries we were able to get away with the last 30 years are finished. You know, I have to go back to the first principles that Marcus Garvey taught us: self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and sustainability. My father was in the Guard movement. I learned from him, and I've tried to introduce that to the young people I work with today. I've got 4 children, but I have a granddaughter who's born and not very far from here. She graduated at Essex University with a first-class honours degree in mathematics. That's what we got about the condition for our children, grandchildren. I'm a 7-time grandfather. And what I'm trying to do is to leave a firm foundation for them to stand on. And the firm idea of their history is key to that. People that know their history. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's quickly respond. Please convey your regards to Brixton and let us know that you'll be coming down, okay? And when you speak about Winston, Winston is also my mentor, because when I was training in youth and community work, this was the person I elected, and he was my non-managerial supervisor. So Winston, thank you very much. And I think on this note, I spoke a bit earlier about Ansett Press giving us some publications. And one of the publications given us is Caribbean Publishing Britain, and it's a tribute to Arif Ali. Listen, I would like you to take this and receive this with the honor and the love as chair of our organization.
This is a surprise. I don't anything from what I do. I'll tell you a little story, a short story. Once when the Angolan Mozambique war was in full fledged, I used to take around the people who were coming here from Mozambique and Angola, their brothers, the comrades. And one year they're coming back from Manchester. The guy called Ron Phillips. I don't know if any of you know.
Oh, Ron, yes.
Trevor Phillips, you might know. But myself and Ron was in a compartment with